And we're back with another episode of Off Trail with Luke and Chandler. I'm Luke.
I'm Chandler.
And we are once again off trail.
Yes, we are.
We have a fun episode today.
Yes, we do.
It's a variation of something we did before, where we critiqued our own photos. Mm-hmm. But today, we are going to critique photos submitted by you, the listener, the watcher.
It's crazy.
So, last time we had asked that, if you would like us to go through your photos, please send them to us. And sure enough, we got a handful of submissions. And so today we chose 3 photographers of that group. And we're going to go through some of their photos. One sent in 4 photos. And so we're going to, go through all of them.
Yeah.
But it should be fun. We've never done something like this. And it feels a little weird. It feels powerful.
Yeah.
But it's a little strange, like kind of publicly critiquing other photos.
Yeah. We always critique each other's, but
yeah,
this is new territory.
And mostly we just say each other's photos suck. But
yeah,
this is a little different. Like we don't want to be rude.
Yeah,
we're not trying to be. If we say anything negative, which for the most part in these we are not.
Yeah,
these are good photos, but yeah, it's just different. So it'd be fun. And
yeah,
hopefully you guys like our critiques, our reviews. And hopefully it helps you guys figure out how to take some better photos in the future. And we're not trying to say we are the experts, Everyone's got their own eye, their own taste, but it's just how we feel.
Yeah, this is our eye.
Yeah, it's just how we feel about some of these. So first off, our first photographer is Brandon Oram out of Idaho. And he sent in this photo of a bighorn sheep ram on top of a cliff in Badlands National Park.
Yeah, super cool.
Yeah, very, very cool place. Been there before. Didn't see wildlife like he got in this shot, and it'll be on screen so you can see it. But it's a really neat shot of a ram kind of in front of the crazy cliffs of the Badlands. And it's a neat take on trying to combine wildlife and landscape photography. Mm-hmm. And I guess before we get into the specifics of it, my general critique of this photo is I just don't think that combining those two styles, wildlife and landscape, in this photo itself, like it adds anything to the photo. Mm-hmm. You can do it really well. But I think what I guess have an issue with in this one is you can't see a lot more of the lower parts of the landscape. You just see the tips of the mountains or the cliffs. And I'd like to see a little bit more of the vastness of that area if I was going to really be pumped about this photo. Mm-hmm. I think it's really cool you got a ram up on that cliff, Brandon. But I'd almost like to see a little bit more on the other side of the cliff he's on if I'm really going to be pumped about it.
Yeah. I think that's kind of how I feel. I'm going to take this from me. I think that's how I feel about this as well. I feel like maybe if it was taken from just a slightly different angle, moving to the left or the right, I don't know obviously what what it was like here, what the landscape was like as far as where you're able to go and stuff. But I think if I were going to shoot this, I would try to isolate either the ram or focus more on the landscape. And this feels like it is focused on the ram, but it's also kind of focused on the landscape. So it's there's 2 different kinds of subjects going on, and it's kind of hard to pick out. I think which one we're supposed to look at. Obviously, it's it should be the ram, but I think what I would have done is just moved right or left, try to isolate that ram a little bit because it is kind of hidden a little bit. And when I first saw this photo, I was like, oh, this is cool. All these cool features and stuff's probably in Badlands, whatnot. And I was like, what's this thing on this cliff? And I look a little closer, and I was like, oh, it's a ram. It didn't stick out, immediately.
Yeah, and it's almost like, I look at the photo, I'm like, oh, it's a cool landscape. There's a ram in there. Nice. That's great. And it's almost like I just brush over it a little bit. And that's kind of what I'm trying to say with this critique. It's like, it's not something where it's like, oh, that's a cool shot of this ram in a place.
Yeah.
But before we go further into this idea, colors, lighting, all that stuff, great.
yeah.
Like, don't change any of that.
Yeah.
That's perfect. And obviously, we don't know exactly, like you said, where you could be standing there. Obviously, National Park can't fly drones. We don't know what lenses you had. But being able to change, like, your angle a little bit, or maybe cropping in, tightening in on just the RAM itself would be really cool.
Yeah.
You know, like, you could crop, even just this photo itself, if you just crop it in to more of like a vertical shot with the RAM right in the center of photo, like maybe crop in a little bit, but it doesn't have to be much, just so like you can pull the focus directly to the RAM. Because in this one, it's like, oh, RAM, landscape, you're just kind of going around and around.
Yeah.
And that's why it doesn't quite work for me.
Yeah. There's nothing that really like leads my eye to a certain point or whatever. Like I said, you know, or like you said, it was, you know, it's easy to kind of skip over the RAM. You know, it's just kind of, it feels more like it's just kind of thrown in there. But like you said too, you know, I really like the edit on this. It's a much more like natural edit, and I really like that. I feel like that really works well with wildlife photography, more of a natural edit like this. So I really like it. I think it's a cool scene. You know, I've never been to Badlands. It looks super cool.
Yeah, and
So-
this is not to say like you can't get a great shot of wildlife in this place.
Oh, yeah.
Because I like I said, I've been there. It is insane looking.
Yeah.
It's just like where you're at, you're kind of like on the same level with the RAM and almost the peaks, and so you can't see like the rest of the floor, the bowl, the valley, where you're at, and so it's just a little hard for me to really dive into it and get excited about it, knowing like what is really there.
Yeah. It almost feels flat.
A little
So,
bit.
yeah.
Yeah, and that's part of it too. You know, like it's like you have a level and then you have a back level and that is it. Like I'd like to be able to have like almost a smoother transition a little bit if it is more of a landscape with wildlife photo. If it's one or the other, I feel like you can get away with it.
Yeah.
But in this scenario, with it not being tighter on the RAM, like I feel you have to have a little bit of that transition with the depth.
Yep. And I fully agree. But yeah, like, you know, great photo.
Yeah,
Super cool.
and it's still a cool experience to
Yeah.
get it. Like, see that's the cool part about like a photo like this. Like, maybe it's not the epic banger photo, but it's like that's a really cool experience to have still. And you shouldn't not take this photo because it's not going to do great on Instagram or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, you should still take that photo just
or it's
for
not
memory's
like
sake.
technically all correct or whatever, just because, you know,
like it's still
rules are meant to be broken.
It's still worthwhile to have the photo.
Yeah, exactly.
You know? And again, it's still a cool photo, but like there's just slight ways I think you could adjust it to make it better.
Yeah.
That's all.
I fully agree.
So, Brandon, great job. Love the photo.
Stellar stuff.
We got to try hang out this year, Brandon.
Yeah, we looked at your page, so we stalked you a little bit, and great stuff. So
Yeah. Okay, moving on to the second photographer. This photographer sent in 4 photos,
yes, she did.
which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
Very excited about having us go through them. And I got to say before we get going too, you know, this photographer has like a special connection to me, potentially.
Yeah.
This photographer, Lizzie Bonham, believe it or not, actually shares a last name with my mom's side of my family. So we could be long lost cousins or something.
That's not a very common last name.
No, it's not.
So.
And so, Lizzie, we got to meet up because we got to sort this out and see what the deal is.
Do a little genealogy.
Yeah, be fun. So, Lizzie, you sent in 4 photos, and we're going to start with this photo of some coastal, I guess, living area, you know, city. Has some buildings up on cliffs. You know, you're on the water when you shot this, presumably from some kind of boat. Great looking sky up on top. Lighting is great. Colors are great. Very natural look, which is awesome. Compositionally, it's very well balanced. That's like the first thing I think that stands out is you have a very defined foreground with the water, then another good section of the buildings and the cliffs, and then the final section with the sky. So very well done there. Kind of follow the rule of thirds. Maybe not with the full, whatever, 3x2 crop, but either way, like it's still really well balanced within that. Yeah, lighting, colors, all that are great. You know, my first thought is like, it's tough shooting from the water like that, especially if you're on a boat, because there's not much else you can do with the foreground. You're very limited, and that's no fault of your own, Lizzie. You can't do a long exposure like that down there. It's just a little harder to do things like that. So, like, given what you were able to do with this, I think it's a great shot.
Yeah.
I think just like that last one, it does feel maybe a touch flat. You can take a look at it again just to confirm that, but I think it does look a little flat. And so it's like maybe playing with like the shadows and highlights a little bit, just some shading to help bring you into the photo and show some depth with the water.
Yeah.
That might be a suggestion.
Just a little more contrast in the in kind of the the focal part of the image. I think another thing too that this maybe could benefit from is maybe a slight vignette from the bottom.
Yes, one of my classic Luke Furman
vignettes. Luke Furman vignette. I think maybe another thing too about this, that one thing that I appreciate actually is there doesn't appear to be any blown out highlights or any like crushed blacks or crushed shadows.
No, tones are great.
Tones are really good.
The only thing I would say with tones, and this is just personal taste, up in the clouds, you have a little bit of some harshness, some harsher lines. I personally would pull down my highlights in my tone curve to help blend the highlights together a little bit, and you'll see it most apparently in the sky. But that'll help kind of blend the edges of the clouds into the sky, and it won't be quite as like, here's the sky. Yeah. So that's my only tip with like the tone curve, I guess. But otherwise, the rest of it's good.
Yeah, I would agree. I don't know that I have too much else to say on this. It's a good photo. Yeah, super cool place.
Yeah, I like it.
Where do we think this was?
It was somewhere in
Italy
Europe
or something.
Yeah,
Europe?
I can't remember. We looked at the page and saw it, but I forget now.
Yeah.
So
either way, it's a cool place.
Yeah.
So
Can't remember, but it is a great photo, great shot of the place.
Yeah.
We're gonna move on, Lizzie, to your second photo that you sent in, and this one, where was this? Ireland?
I think so.
We think it was Ireland, but Lizzie, you could correct us. It's of a coastal cliff line. You have what is presumably the ocean right there. And it's a really neat area. It's like you see photos kind of like this a lot of these kinds of cliffs.
Yeah.
Super cool. I'd love to go see it at some point in my life. And it's a really neat shot and composition with the cliffs, the water. Again, the sky is great. You threw a little foreground in with the cliff that you were, again, presumably standing on. And I think just like the last one, colors are good, tones are good. Like, don't change anything there. Very good natural look to it. It's like I was there with you looking at the same thing. I can believe it, no problem. A couple things that we noticed about this one. One is composition. It's almost like a little too empty on the right side. Yeah. Like there's just a hair too much ocean. Yeah. And if you were
very left heavy.
Yes. So. And if you were able to crop it in just a little bit, that would allow you to kind of, feel a bit more balance with the entire photo and just remove a little bit of that ocean. Because, like, ultimately, there's just nothing else there to look at. And so you want to help bring the eye back to all the other details with the cliffs to help your eye go through the photo. So compositionally, maybe just scaling it down. But I think you could also work out a good vertical shot, too, if you wanted, where you're almost centered more so just on the cliffs in the middle and not showing a bunch of the ocean on the right and not showing the really a lot of the big chunk of cliffs on the left either, and kind of focusing more on the cliffs themselves and not the cliffs with the ocean. Yeah. You show some of that detail, I think it'd be cool. I think one more thing before I hand it off to you is, and again, this is maybe no fault of your own. I don't know what kind of gear you're working with, Lizzie, but I think what would make this photo just a hair better is if you were able to shoot it with the drone. Yeah. And get it up in the air a little bit, because then you could see a little bit of the tops of the cliffs. Yeah. And like the shape of those little jagged edges that poke out. And I think that would make it a lot more interesting, give you more to look at. Yes. In there. Yep. So, and I think something maybe you can talk about too is like if you were up there shooting almost a little bit on a downward angle, you could remove a little bit of that sky. I don't think you need quite as much of it, but it's not a problem.
Yeah. I mean, this is, if we're following basic, rule of thirds and stuff, and not that you have to follow rule of thirds all the time, but pretty much everything of interest on this photo is sitting in that bottom left corner of the frame. And so I think by, cropping in and then, using a drone, if you have one, if you're able to get, obviously I don't know the location. I don't know if you're able to fly a drone or not, but if you're able to get a little bit higher and shoot down towards the cliffs, I think that would help just kind of show a lot more of that shape.
A top-down shot could be dope there, too.
That would be sweet, yeah. You'd have a heyday.
Field day.
Yeah. But, just trying to isolate these cliffs a little bit more, kind of help them pop out a little bit. Let's see. Yeah, and I think another way that this could work too is maybe cropping this vertically. I think would work really well. And then maybe even removing a little bit of the foreground. Like this little strip of grass here.
Yeah.
And then only focusing on putting your main focus on the cliffs. I think that would help this photo tremendously.
Yeah.
So.
Not that I am a huge fan of, putting people in shots unnecessarily, but I think if you had someone sitting on that cliffside, that could be kind of cool, too.
That could be cool, yeah.
I think it just adds to the shot. It's like, you're looking out over the vast ocean, the cliffs. It's a neat little thing, but again, I'm not going to force that.
Yeah, exactly. As long as it's not forced.
No, it could be a little tasteful addition to the shot. And speaking of tasteful additions to the shot, Chandler, could you tell us something that we noticed about this shot?
Yeah. So we were, checking this shot out, admiring your work.
Great work.
Great stuff, yeah. And I noticed one thing. And I noticed that the lighting in the scene felt a little off.
No.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
A little off. Well, so if you look at the cliffs, the light that's coming over the cliffs doesn't match the light that appears to be in the sky.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Say it ain't so.
I'm going to say it. This photo was sky replaced.
No.
Yeah.
Oh.
We have a sky replaced photo.
I'm crushed.
And then that was confirmed to us when we saw that it was the same sky in the last photo.
Yeah.
So, which I was looking at it, that photo again, just, a few minutes ago when we were talking about it. I feel like that one might have been sky replaced as well.
Lizzie.
Yeah.
You dog.
Yeah.
Well, while we're on the topic of sky replacements, and we won't dive too deep into it because that's a
long conversation.
Very long conversation. I don't necessarily care if you sky replace. All I want you to do is say you did it.
Oh, yeah.
Because it dives into the idea of photos or art or what have you. And if the sky didn't really look like that, then you should at least say that.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you've actually posted this shot, Lizzie, and you might not have, and that's okay. But it's just like a note going forward, If you're going to sky replace, just mention it.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. And one thing to, if you are going to sky replace too, one thing to think about is matching the light with your scene.
Very important to at least try to hide some of that.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of say the lay person is not going to notice that. They're not going to think twice.
Yeah.
But if you want photographers to look at it, you're going to find yourself in some trouble.
Yeah, we're gonna notice that real fast.
Yeah, Chandler's a pixel peeper.
Yep.
So.
Yep, exactly. And I didn't notice that, a lot of times when you are sky replacing, you get some pretty bad banding on the.
That seemed okay.
Yeah, it seems fine.
Yeah.
So on this photo, it wasn't immediately noticeable except for the lighting. So, there was something that felt a little off about this.
Just a bit.
Almost like if you put a Milky Way in a midday photo. It kind of has that kind of a feeling to it. To me, at least. Normally, in this photo, it appears that the sun has just about set, or it's just on the other side of the horizon. But by looking at the cliffs, it looks like the light is coming
almost midday,
almost right above them.
Yeah.
So, at least that's where the sun would be.
Yeah. In real life,
to create those shadows. So,
yeah.
But
yeah, otherwise, still a great photo. It's a cool place. Love that you got to get out there and take a shot like that. And I think it's just another example. It's you can always find other cool ways to shoot this kind of a landscape as well.
Yeah.
Endless opportunity.
Oh, yeah.
So,
yeah.
Bravo, Lizzie.
Yep. Love it.
We're going to move on to your third photo. And this one is, and again, we don't know exactly where this was. Yeah. We forget. But
we think it's in the Alps. But
yeah, it's a good guess. But this photo is honestly really great. It is a a peak that it kind of stands alone amongst itself, and it's just poking up into the clouds, which is pretty cool. And you have a little bit of a foreground element that comes up from the bottom right corner.
Yeah.
With a hill that's in front of it. And I think the whole thing adds a little bit of like an element of depth. You can tell it's far away. It's also massive because it's touching up in the clouds. I really would like to know, like, if there was a moment either before or right after this photo where the clouds were just covering even more.
Yeah.
Just make it a little moodier almost.
Yeah.
Just like obscuring the peak some. But otherwise, like, still a great photo, cool moment to capture. I think colors are good, tones are good. You know, again, I think all of it, you know, overall is just a really, really well done photo.
Oh yeah.
So great job with this one. I'll let Chandler give it.
Yeah, I don't really, you know, have too much to say on this. Yeah, I like it. I like the composition and everything. Yeah, like you said, tones and everything look good. I did notice that, and I don't know if this is just how it was edited. Maybe it was a film photo. She didn't specify that it was a film photo, but the color in the sky is a little more teal than I feel like it would be, and typically that can happen from certain types of film. Or maybe it was just how you edited. I don't know. But I thought that's interesting. I personally wouldn't have made it as teal looking. But I don't think it looks bad. You know,
it doesn't make it a bad photo.
No, it doesn't
It's
at all.
still a great photo.
I think it works actually because all the tones in here
Are fairly light.
Yeah, they're very subdued and stuff, and it kind of has a kind of muted film feel to it. So I feel like those blues work really well. But
yeah,
other than that, I don't know that I have too much to say about this. I like it. So yeah, it's cool.
One more comment that I have about it, and actually really it's not about this one, but a different photo of like the same exact shot is when we were on your Instagram page, Lizzie. You have another shot of this where like you're shooting through, I don't know, like it's like some houses, I forget exactly, but like you're shooting through some other elements in the foreground to really frame this right in the middle, and it looks so good. Like that one, even better.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
So great job with this one.
Yeah, love it.
Keep shooting these kinds of shots. Okay, last one for Lizzie.
This one is
This
one's cool.
This one's stellar.
Yeah.
This is easily the best one of the bunch here, Lizzie. This one again, probably somewhere in the Alps. We don't know exactly. You said you think you have the.
I do. I have this
pin for
pinned.
this. Yeah.
So yeah.
So, you know, really, really cool spot. Cool jagged cliffs. You caught a really cool moment with clouds, kind of casting shadow onto the cliffside, but only in certain patches. And it adds a really unique, like, dynamic element to the photo, where you know, like, there's some movement, there's some other things that are in the environment that come into play, and combining that with just the shape of the mountain in your composition, how it kind of curves from left to right, and it's like that gradual slope up, just looks really, really good. Colors are great. Again, the greens look good. Like, they're a little vibrant, but like it works though.
Yeah,
Like,
they're not too vibrant.
no,
So,
like
they're not unrealistic.
No, it works great. You know, lighting, tones, again, everything's really good. And there's one thing that we had talked about in one of your photos when we did our critique. It was your one in Moab, where the river kind of came out of frame.
Oh yeah, yeah.
In that one, I was kind of left wanting to know what was out there.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, oh, like, where does this go? I want to see that side of
Yeah.
this photo. And in this one, like, you have a little bit of like that cliff on the right that comes out of frame, but by no means am I curious about what's out there, because I'm just so focused on the main subject.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
like, it's really well done, the fact that this captures your attention fully, and you don't want to try and escape from it and go outside the bounds. And so it's a really good way of really just coming all into the middle and, you know, trapping your attention.
Yeah, yeah. And again, you know, colors, everything looks really good. Tones, everything's very well balanced. No blown out highlights, no crushed blacks or shadows. Very, very natural look, which I really like. And everything looks like it's in focus too. Like, it looks tack sharp, looks awesome. Yeah, I don't know that I don't have too much to say about this.
No,
So,
I wouldn't change a thing.
Yeah.
I think it's great.
I think maybe if I were to shoot this, just with how the clouds are, you know, kind of have that partial cloudy sky, I think this would have been really cool to shoot with a polarizer, just because that would have pulled a lot of the color out of the sky separate from the clouds, kind of give a little bit more dimension in the sky. that's just what I would have done personally. I love polarizers. I just think polarizers are super cool. I don't know if you've messed with
I've never
polarizers.
shot with one.
Yeah, they're fun. They're cool. They make colors just look so much cooler than they do in regular, just in camera. But yeah, great photo.
Yeah, it's a great photo. I hope you have it up on your wall at home, Lizzie.
Yeah, I would print
Like
the
this
heck out of
is one. I got 2 very large prints here at the
Yeah.
house, and like this is the kind of shot that I'd want big up on my wall.
This would be super cool.
Yeah, very, very cool shot. Cool moment to capture.
Yeah.
So well done. Lizzie, you were also the only Utah photographer featured in this segment.
True. Yeah.
And that means we need to hang out. Yeah. So we got to make that happen.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, before we move on to our last photographer and photo for the episode, we're going to just quickly reset our cameras to give us plenty of time to go through this. And so our last photographer is actually a friend of mine who I got to meet in person.
You did, yeah.
Which
I'm jealous about.
Yeah, this is Katie Broad. Katie Go Boom on Instagram.
Katie Go Boom.
Yeah, she's awesome. She's very sweet. Katie, I wish you didn't live so far away up in Oregon.
Yeah.
I wish you were here and you can hang out with us more. But at the same time, I'm jealous that you live up there because it's pretty cool.
You get to go see stuff like this.
See cool things like this.
Yeah.
So this photo from Katie is of a kind of a lone tree in the middle of some woods, a little moody in the shot, typical of the PNW. And we don't know exactly where in the PNW this is, but you can tell it's PNW.
Yeah.
But it's a really neat shot of this tree in some foggy conditions. Katie, you really captured the colors so well in this shot.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's so believable. And I'm obviously, like, I know this is edited to some degree.
Yeah.
But, like, I feel like I go out there and see this no problem.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is what it would look like, Tones are great. You really captured the mood of something like this really well with a little bit of that fog creeping in from the top. And, I think tones are great as well. The only, I guess, maybe negative critique I have for this is that some of the blacks are a little crushed.
Yeah.
And
just a little bit.
Personal taste, up to you. Mm-hmm. I would have raised those just a little bit. But otherwise, Katie, I really do think this might be one of the best, if not maybe the best photo I've actually seen from you. I think it's phenomenal.
Yeah.
So great job with this one.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. One of my favorite things about this scene too is I feel like there's a lot of room for, what's the word? Creative flexibility, I guess. Same with the edit too.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that, I look at this photo, you look at this photo. We're like, oh man, we could have a heyday.
I would
with editing
edit the
this
crap
photo.
out of this photo.
Yeah, like we can do a lot. But even just here on location, like I feel like there's so much to shoot here. I know there's something we talked about, like you doing portraits here.
Oh, I could nail portraits out there.
Would be so cool.
In that exact spot.
Yeah, that'd be crazy.
Yeah. But even like doing like say some more macro photos of the leaves there.
Yeah.
Like what this photo does really well is it invites you into the scene and it like lets you see all these other things that you could shoot. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a really good example of when you have a really good photo on your hands.
Yeah, exactly.
Because like it inspires you to want to actually go to that spot and do more things with it.
Exactly. Yeah. Like I look at the I look at the bark on the ground and stuff, and then we look at the leaves on the tree. That's the main subject, and it just I feel like there's so many cool things you could do with this. Colors are great. Everything's good. I really like the mist that's coming down to the top. Just kind of adds another little element of atmosphere to it. It's super, super cool.
Yeah.
Love it.
5-star photo, Katie.
Yep, absolutely.
Squatch approved.
I bet he does approve.
He approved.
Dude, he probably's been to
He
this spot.
texted me earlier. He's like, I approve of this one.
Did he? That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But phenomenal photo, Katie.
Yeah.
So well done. And we ended the segment with what I think was the best one of this entire set.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Pumped we could show this, Katie. And again, we gotta find time to hang out, girl.
Yeah, we do.
You're
you gotta
too
get
far
out
away.
here.
Yeah, we gotta bring you out to Utah.
Yeah.
Show you the desert a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But we gotta make it happen. And we can also make more things happen if you want to submit more photos to us.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So we'd love to go through more. It's fun for us.
Oh yeah.
Again,
This is super fun.
We're not saying we're the experts, but it's just fun to give our own little advice and critique.
We just like talking about photos.
Yeah,
so,
it's just fun to go through these things. We do that a lot of time with our own photos.
Mm-hmm.
The good and the bad. It's a good time.
Yeah.
So if you would like to send us photos, you can either DM them to the main Instagram page, Real Bushwhackers, or you could also email them to realbushwhackers@gmail.com. Either one of those works. The more we get, the more often we can do episodes like this. So send away, we'd love to see what you guys get.
Yeah.
It could be anything, portraits, landscapes, adventure stuff, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So send away.
Yep. Please do.
Yeah,
So,
it'd be fun. And for all those either listening at home, which hopefully you're watching because there's some more visual content to this kind of episode.
yeah.
But all those watching on YouTube as well, make sure you please like this video and subscribe to whatever platform you're choosing to participate on.
Yeah.
And
Do all the YouTubey kind of things.
yeah, do all that stuff. You know, it helps us out. More than anything, it helps us when you subscribe and comment. Help grow the page and gives us an idea of the kinds of things you guys want to see.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
Please go do all that stuff. You can find us on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Podcasts, whatever it's called. Google Podcasts,
Apple
and iHeartRadio. We're everywhere.
Yeah.
So go find us.
Are we missing one? No,
I don't know.
Whatever.
Send it to your friends.
Yeah.
And send us photos. So
Do it.
that's all we got for you today. Signing off. We'll see you later.
Okay, bye.